It's all yours, ma'am. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all to the second chapter of season 2 of Youthful RSI. After our last successful chapter of Administration and Ophthalmology, which is available and stored in the archives on our YouTube channel, we are back again this month with a very important chapter. Running your practice successfully is almost impossible without any sort of collaboration incorporating the various TPA and government schemes. To break each one of these schemes down, to have all the merits and demerits for each one of them, we have our today's session on incorporating the TPA and government schemes in your practice. How important are these schemes? Which one to opt for? Are they needed to be available in your practice for a greater patient load? Are they beneficial? Advantages and disadvantages of each one of them, and so many other questions that will be answered. We would like to introduce our past president, Dr. Himanshu Mehta, to share his experience about how TPA works and what are the fine prints that one should be careful about.
Good evening, friends, and thank you very much, Dr. Rohan, Pooja, Anshika, nice to see you. And Dr. Satyajit Sinha, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time. Really appreciate the effort. I guess all of us have learned the nuances of practice. How do we... Pallak, you might want to go silent, Pallak. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Pallak, how are you doing?
I am good. How are you, sir?
Very well. Can you mute your phone? Somebody's... Phone, you're also not on mute, so just in case. So there are... point that we are trying to mention here is that an essential evil of life is TPA. We learn all kinds of cataract surgeries, retina surgeries. We take 10 years and years of experience and practice. But end of the day, where do we use it? We need patients, and we need patients who can pay. And today, with the amount of insurance that is happening in the country, which is still minuscule, there's a huge population which is still waiting. All the insurance companies in the country are dying to get huge number of patients insured. Look at the stock prices of all these companies, from Bajaj Finance to all of these guys, and all insurance companies, ICICI Prudential. They all are soaring high because they are looking into the insurance business, which is a big business. The biggest menace in Europe and in the United States, the so-called United States, the medical care is so good. But today the doctors are ruled over by the TPAs in the United States. There was a time when a doctor used to get in 80s $2,400 for a cataract surgery. That was intracapsular or extracapsular without lens implantation. And today they are struggling to get even $400 for the same. This is how much the whole cost structure has changed. The TPAs can change the whole scenario. And it is so very important that besides knowing what you practice, how you do your surgery, and how efficient you are in your day-to-day approach with the patients, to get the patients and deliver to them is very important. People are ready to spend on the new iPhone. They are ready to spend on the new Samsung or a new car or a BMW or a new, say, 75-inch television, but they are not wanting to spend money on health. Health is taken for granted. And so also, a lot of institutions which have come up, and people just are reluctant to spend on that. They're ready to buy a lovely Rolex watch, or they would be showing off their new Patek Philippe or a Louis Philippe and whatever they have to show off, but they are not ready to spend on insurance. So The third party aggregators which have come into the picture are a very essential part of our life. We have to understand this insurance because a lot of patients are going to be coming, and especially if you are into premium practice or you want to do whatever surgeries, you need all these people to be insured because everybody, in fact, I'll give you a joke on this. I'm a Gujarati, and a lot of Gujaratis in Bombay that I know of and Gujarat, they feel extremely upset that I've been paying my insurance for Mediclaim for last 20 years, but I have never vasulified it. Instead of being very happy that they did not have to use the insurance, they are very unhappy that they have not been able to vasulify the insurance. That's how the scenario goes. They think it's the money going down in the dumps. They are little understanding that that money which you are putting, it rather go waste. It's like, buying your term insurance or your life insurance. Who celebrates? Who gets the money? So the family celebrates a person's death. That is actually life insurance. So a term insurance plans is nothing but the celebration by the family of the death of one of the members, wherein they get 2 crores or 5 crores or 10 crores. So this is how medicine is going to work out and span out. You have CGHS, you have ESIS, you have multiple, various schemes which have been run by the government for the votes bank. They don't want to pay the doctors very well. End of the day, the lens manufacturer or the equipment manufacturer might make more money than you. In any case, the hospitals would make, but we would be lingering behind. What are the nuances, which are the schemes which are there, how to negotiate with them, how to be with them. It's an essential evil of life. You have to be with them. You can't leave them. How well to live with them in coexistence and solidarity is what is very important. And for that, we have some very good speakers who are very well known for that and who know their subject thoroughly. And I really appreciate Dr. Satyajit Sinha taking his very vital time out from his busy practice and giving us some more insight and info on that. Thanks, Dr. Saab and Dr. Pallak. Thank you so much. And really appreciate Rohan, Pooja and Anshika for having organized this very, very important thing. It affects every practitioner's life in the country, and yet nobody wants to talk about it. There is no separate session in All India Ophthalmic Society or any meeting on how to deal with the TPA menace. Unfortunate. We don't know IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. It's a faceless monster. Nobody knows who's the president, whom to meet and how to tackle them. They are the ones who make the rules for us. And that is the unfortunate part of the story. So let's see how we have to get on with it. And thanks everybody again for having this platform. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mehta, for your kind words. I would like Dr. Anshika to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, Dr. Satyajit Sinha.
Dr. Pooja. So we welcome our first speaker this evening, Dr. Satyajit Sinha, someone who needs no introduction, the chairman of ABI Institute in Patna. He is an anterior and cornea surgeon who did his FACO fellowship from Shankara Netralaya in Chennai. He has received the International Award for Medical Excellence in New Delhi and has been the recipient of the IRSI Gold Medal. With over 38 empanelment health schemes running in the hospital, we have none other than Dr. Satyajit Sinha to tell us about the role of incorporating government schemes into your practice. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anshika. Thank you so much, Dr. Anshika, for that introduction. I think Dr. Himanshu has already finished my presentation. He has told everything so nicely about how important empanelments are, that there's very little left to say. However, I'll try to elaborate and tell you why incorporating government schemes in your practice is so important. And it is my faith and belief that the target audience who we are talking to today is the younger generation who have just started their practice or are going to start their practice or have just spent a few years beginning their practice. I would first like to thank Dr. Rohan for inviting me to give this talk today. I'd like to thank Dr. Pooja and the entire IRSI Young Brigade team who are doing a wonderful job of making these talks, bringing these talks together. Now, I was thinking be presenting this talk. And I asked my office to give me a list of companies that we are insured and paneled with. And we have companies who we are empaneled with right now. And when I was looking at this list, I saw this CGHS, ESI, and Airport Authority of India, BSNL. Some of these, which are in the first 5 lists, are some of the companies with which I got empaneled in 2001, when I had just started my. That time, empanelment was not such a in thing. Everybody had a solo practice. Everybody much in. And at that time, I went ahead and we were one of the first hospitals in Bihar to get empaneled. And even today, we were some of the maximum empanelments in Bihar in the different hospitals. So this, so that is the time I will be speaking on this topic to the younger generation, where I have already done all this by myself. And once you have empaneled with the government organizations, then the ball sets rolling, and then it becomes a breeze to get empaneled with other private companies. Because getting empaneled with the government companies adds a lot of credibility to your practice, adds a lot of credibility. Now, beginning with why it is so important is the key word is cash. These post-COVID times have faced difficult economic hardships. From these hard times, they are looking for places where things can be done in a cashless manner. Also, the government of India is working very hard towards digitalization of the entire economic system. So there is less areas or gray areas where money can be not accounted for. So not only is it is becoming easy for the patient, it's also becoming easy for the doctor. Now, initially, to begin with, when you are starting your practice, it may be a good idea to show as much income as possible in an accountable manner. So when this cashless thing happens, it goes straight to your account and everything is accounted for. The more income you show, the more eligible you become for different kind of loans, because initially you have to take loans to buy different machines, and your eligibility increases as your income increases. Now, to go for this cashless, you have to get empaneled with different government organizations, with different public sector units, or the different private third-party assistants which are there, which are being used by HDFC, ICICI, and those kind of banks. The credibility of any center is most enhanced by the lines when you write empaneled by CGHS. Now, there are a lot of other government schemes also, but the primary scheme which is there, it's called the Central Government Health Scheme. And once you have empaneled yourself with the CGHS, then your center earns a lot of credibility, and it becomes a lot easier for other institutions, whether it is government or it is private, to enroll yourself and take you on board. To make the process of empanelment with N number of organizations, first begin with getting empaneled with CGHS. And I'll tell you why it is so important and why it is so useful. Rest of them, as I said, automatically will fall in line. The other government schemes which are there are the ECHS, which is the ex-servicemen health scheme, in which mostly the army people who are there, they get benefited with this scheme. The ESI people who are working in the factories and laborers, they benefit most. And all this accounts for a huge population of patients, all pool of patients which you get access to, which you will not get otherwise if you are not empaneled with these organizations. One of the largest health schemes in the world now, which has been started by Narendra Modi ji, our Honorable Prime Minister, is the Ayushman Bharat scheme. It has a huge potential, and once you get empaneled with Ayushman Bharat, CGHS, CSI, and ECHS, you earn a lot of credibility and you will get a lot of patients. Initially, when you have limited access to funds, it's very difficult to put advertisements, so on and so forth, which are costly. And once you get empaneled with this, then by word of mouth, the good work that you are going goes around, and then that in turn helps you in getting private patients also. It helps build faith and confidence for the beneficiary. A lot of patients who are then not beneficiaries of CGHS or ESI, they go and tell their relatives, I met this doctor and he's so good and he talks so nicely and his infrastructure is so good. And then they come and actually pay you money, and that is not cashless, and they pay you money and get themselves treated. So it adds more value to your institution. Now, even before you begin with empaneling with CGHS, there is something called Rohini with which you have to get empaneled with. Rohini is an organization which gives you a unique 13-digit ID with which your hospital will be recognized throughout the country. This is the number which gives credibility. They have done all your background check and seen all your paperwork that you are eligible to be empaneled with the different government scheme and the private schemes. And this is the unique number. It's like you as a person have your Aadhaar card. This is the Aadhaar card of your hospital. The Rohini number is the Aadhaar card of your hospital, which makes you gives you a lot of credibility to CGHS. And so if you're not registered with Rohini, you cannot register with CGHS. Your form will not move further. Why should hospitals be part of Rohini? How does Rohini benefit them? Rohini is a game changer as it progressively opens up immense possibilities to rethink and reshape their strategies. It gives greater visibility, credibility, and branding. It helps in register and edits information. It broadcasts address or contact information changes in a matter of click to all stakeholders associated with them. It helps in making your claims faster, the processing part of it, and the electronic exchange of medical records between hospitals and insurance company becomes very seamless and very easy. So once you can go to see on the internet, you can Google registration with Rohini, and you can get your Rohini number. Is the first thing that you have to begin with. The next thing that you have to do, even before you are applying for the CGHS, is something which has been brought forward by the government itself. It's the Clinical Establishment Act, which was passed by the Parliament in 2010. And it provides the registration and regulations for all clinical establishments in the country with a view to prescribing minimum standards of facilities and services which may be provided by them. So we all know that there are so many quacks in the country and there are so many illegal things happening. And for a huge country like India, to regulate things, to streamline things, to make sure that its citizens get the right kind of treatment, it was very important to bring this Clinical Establishment Act. Some of the acts thought initially were very harsh and very tough for the doctors to take care of, but now it has become much easier. And for the eye hospitals, it is even easier. The act has a little leniency for the eye hospitals because we don't have to meet all the standards. Now, who are the recipients of the central government health scheme? The current working representatives of the central government, their employees, their needy relatives who are dependent on them, living in CGHS secured regions, existing and former individuals from Indian Parliament, former governor, lieutenant governors of India, freedom fighters, former vice presidents of India, existing and former judges of Supreme Court, workers and pensioners of choose self-governing associations, journalists, police personnel, and workers of railway board. Now, other than those who are beneficiaries of CGHS, which is a very, very large pool, and you get access to all those patients and they are there in all the cities, we also encourage you to get empaneled with ESI, that is the Employee State Insurance Scheme, in which there is a large pool of patients who go for these patients who go to the factories, who are working as laborers. And these are the patients who get a lot of trauma also in their eyes. They are so in their eyes. So there's a big pool of patients if you get empaneled with ESI. The ESI state insurance is an integrated measure of social insurance embodied in to accomplish the task of protecting employees as defined by the Employees State Insurance Act 1948. Now, we have the ECHS also, which I said is the ex-servicemen. It's the Department of Ex-Servicemen Welfare of the Ministry of Defense. And it has recently come out with a clarification regarding definition of empaneled hospitals under ECHS. Hospitals or nursing homes, dental care facilities, and diagnostic centers for specific treatment and diagnostic procedure of specialized nature are allowed to be empaneled medical centers. Hospitals need to furnish an undertaking to ECHS accepting the rates notified by CGHS. So each of these government organizations are very particular that you give the services to their patients, to their beneficiary, that CGHS rates, even if it is ESI, even if it's Ayushman Bharat, even if it's ECHS. Now, this is a copy of the letter that my hospital sends to all the different organizations when we are there for empanelment. And since this is for the younger generation, I thought I would put this, and I hope this meeting is being recorded so that you can later go in and see it, see the different things that we write. And there are 14 points which I put over here. I send my letters, and it almost seamlessly gets empaneled by the different organizations that I send my letters to. Recently, we sent it to CBSE, the Central Board of Secondary Education, and yesterday we got a letter that now we are empaneled with them. And there's a huge pool of teachers around the country who are associated with CBSE, and now we will be giving our services to them. So always, constantly, I'm looking for organizations and looking for places where ABI Institute is not empaneled, because there are so many organizations, it's virtually impossible. And this is also, CBSE is also one of the government organizations, and we have empaneled with them recently. It's not necessary that if you're empaneled with CGHS, automatically you get registered with all the different government organizations. You have to tap each one of them separately, like Food Corporation of India, CBSE, so on and so forth. Now, when I send my letter for empanelment, I also send a photo gallery of all the different facilities that are available in my hospital. So whoever is empaneling, whoever wants to decide whether my hospital is worthy of empanelment with that organization or not, the inspection does happen. But at the first glance, when he sees all these pictures that are there, he gets a good impression of what your hospital is all about. So you also, when you are sending your hospital for empanelment, however small or big it is, you should not bring a block into your mind that my hospital is very small, so it will be very difficult to get empaneled. A small OPD room, a small operating theater, a small inpatient area. If you have all these systems properly, even the smallest of the hospitals get empaneled with CGHS, because in eye the parameters are much lower than for general hospitals. I also send them a picture of the different equipments that I have, so that they get a good idea of what their beneficiaries will be benefiting with if my hospital is empaneled with them. Now, this is the requirements guidelines for empanelment for private eye hospitals under the CGHS scheme. The eye clinic, when you are applying, it should have at least an operation of 2 years. You have already worked, so that you have your balance sheet with you, a copy of the list of the treatment and procedures that you do. And it is not necessary that you should be doing all the squint surgeries and the retina surgeries and the oculoplasty, then only your hospital will be empaneled. If you're doing simple cataract surgery also and doing only anterior segment work, then also your hospital will be empaneled. The other important thing which I wanted to tell you is that when you are applying for these CGHS schemes, you will have the form online. Never write in the form not available. Always write outsourced. Your friend will be there who will be doing oculoplasty, Somebody else will have an ambulance which is there. Pharmacy may be outside. Everything that is there in the form, even the vitreoretinal work, you can always write outsourced, outsourced, and outsourced. Never say not available in the CGHS form when you are filling, or in any form that you are filling for empanelment. You can always guide your patient, you can always tell them, you can always refer them, and you can always write outsourced, and you can always make an MOU with some center showing that your vitreoretinal services are taken care by that hospital, and you can always attach that document. So a copy of the document related to the compliance with necessary statutory requirements are attached with the paper, like waste management, fire safety. Some of these things are very important, and they do take a little time. If you are applying for fire safety, if you are applying for biomedical waste certificate, they take time, but it's very important for you to have patience. Give them 2-3 months. The certificates do come. They cannot sit on it. They cannot stop it. It takes a little while, but it does come over a period. I have learned this, that apply somewhere, leave it. Even the government works. They don't sleep on every paper that is sent to them. It takes a little while, but eventually they'll come and do your inspection, and they'll give you the certificate that is required. Now, the one thing with these guidelines are mainly for general purpose of the eye clinic. For specialized eye clinics, additional technical information will be required depending upon the type of specialization. Power backup facilities, fire clearance, certificate by third parties. These are all standard things which once you go through the form, you will see this. Now, I wanted to show you this, that in the form that is there, you have to fill all this which are there. And in the 8th number, you will see that there is cataract, glaucoma, retinal, strabismus, oculoplasty. These are the treatments which they want under the heading. And whatever treatment is available in your center, you can say available. Whatever is not available, you can say outsourced. These are the address of the different TPAs which I have put here. If this meeting is being recorded for the younger generation, I had showed you the letter that I had sent. And this is the addresses of the different TPAs which are there. You can make that number-wise that I have mentioned, make an envelope and just send by registered post to all these addresses of your hospital, which are mentioned here. So I have written about 25 or 30 addresses are here, which I am, which you can, once if you are playing it back on YouTube, you can note down all the addresses and write letters to them to empanel your. However, these are not government addresses. These are the private ones, but I wanted everybody to benefit from this. So I have written the addresses also over here so that you can copy it and write to all the different TPAs to get your hospital empaneled. So these are the 25 TPAs which are there, which is very, very important for your hospital to be empaneled with. In fact, 28, not 25. Now, primary requirement by CGHS and ECHS or ESI, because my topic is dealing mainly with the government organization. So one of the important things that they will ask you is for QCI. Quality Council of India approval has to be taken to be able to apply for CGHS, ECHS or ESI. And you may or may not have NABH, but now they are slowly making it very mandatory that you have at least the entry level NABH for you to be registered with CGHS, although it's not an absolute must, even a QCI will do. Now, once you want to accredit yourself with NABH, what is accreditation? A public recognition of achievement of the accreditation standards by a healthcare organization demonstrated through an independent external peer. You may think that everything in your hospital is working perfectly fine. You may think that I am giving the best of the services. I deal with my patients in the best of the way, but it has to be seen by and assessed by a third party, a different doctor, to make sure that whatever you think you are doing best is actually good enough for the patient. Now, benefits of accreditation. Accreditation provides a high quality of care and patient safety. My hospital, which just is in the process of NABH now, any day we will be getting that NABH certificate because we have covered the Quality Council of India and all those things much earlier. So now a lot of the things which I thought I was providing perfectly, small things they have rectified, which has helped me a lot in providing better services to the patient. Accreditation to hospitals stimulates continuous improvement. They give you so many files, so many entries that you have to make, that it helps you improve your hospital, your system, the services that you are giving to the patient, so that it helps in continuous improvement. Accreditation to hospitals, the staff is in an accredited hospital are satisfied a lot as it provides for continuous learning. There's a good working environment, leadership, and above all, ownership of clinical processes. These are the benefits of accreditation. Now, accreditation provides an objective system of empanelment and insurance and third parties. Accreditation provides access to reliable and certified information on facilities, information and infrastructure, and level of care. Now, requirement for NABH accreditation, the organization defines and displays the services it can provide. The organization has a well-defined registration and administration process, and there are appropriate mechanisms for transfer and referral of patients who do not match the organization resources, and during admission, the patient and or family members. So these are the different requirements of NABH accreditation, which makes the process much smoother, faster, safer, and better services to the patient. Now, imaging services are provided as per requirements. These are things which benefit so much to your organization also and to the patients also. Now, documents required for the NABH accreditation, as I said, first you need Rohini, then you need Quality Council of India. And for Quality Council of India, these are the things that they will ask you. That is the Biomedical Waste Management, that's the Clinical Establishment Act, registration with the local authorities, with the municipal corporation, and the different certificates which are there. All these certificates which you take for the Clinical Establishment Act help you in making your establishments provide better services to the patient also. You have to take the pollution control certificate. You have to take the fire NOC also. These are certificates which are very important even from the government points of view. These are the different things that I'll ask you. Last year, 3 years balance sheet, bills of equipments, annual maintenance, contract of different equipments. Now, once you take the AMCs, your machines are going to be in better conditions, and definitely you will provide better services to the patients. The NABH will be requiring certificates for the nurses, layout plan of the building, ownership of the premises, Rohini registration, as I earlier said. And if you have a pharmacy, they will ask you for the license. In case of outsourced pharmacy, as I said, in all the things you write outsource and never write it is not available. Hospital management structure and details of the board of directors in its partnership firm, and different things they'll ask you through the NABH accreditation, which is listed here. Now, calibration, medical equipment calibration is very important, and we are almost at the end of this talk. It's not only about CGHS, it's not only about ESI or providing empanelment, this thing. Your equipments are also in a much better state if you constantly get them calibrated. It's the process of ensuring the output of quality of the said equipment is at par with the industry defined standards. There are so many advantages of successful program of equipment management. It helps keep high level of laboratory performance, reduces variability in test outcomes, it lowers repair rates, it extends the life of your machine, decreases service interruptions, it increases the safety for the workers, and produces greater customer satisfaction. Now, for the younger generation, I want you to, this is my last slide, and I would like to say, break free from the myth that the jargon of empanelments are not for me, because there is so much work to be done. It initially demoralizes the young brigade that maybe I should not go for this. I should just get work somewhere else and not open my own center, because there are so many things to be taken care of. But believe me, once you have passed the 2-year mark, you have started your practice, and once you have empaneled, once you have started the process of empanelment, it will not take more than 6 to 8 months for the entire process to to get over, and then you are in league with all the big hospitals that are in your city and town. And paneling with all these government organizations gives you a much larger patient pool base and really helps you build your practice. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Rohan for giving me this opportunity to be sharing my thoughts with all of you. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that exhaustive and comprehensive list on exactly how to go about all of this. And yes, our sessions are being recorded, so we'll be sure to go back and mull over this and gain what we can. So I wanted to ask that of the 28 TPAs that you provided, so that very exhaustive list, so of those, for someone who's beginning in private practice, what are the 3 to 5 TPAs that one can start with? What would be some good things to be associated with in that?
In different areas, there are, in different regions of the country, there are different TPAs which are more active. In Bombay or Delhi, there may be one TPA which is more active. But more or less, speaking on a broad term, TPAs like HDFC and ICICI banks, which are attached to these third-party insurance, they are some of the most active, like Medi Assist and some safe. I don't remember the name, but some of these are more active, and it's much beneficial to get attached with them. Like Raksha is there, and a lot of them are there, which in some areas you have more patients, in some another area you have more patients. But more or less, if you are empaneled with these government organizations first, like CGHS, and even these private patients who enter your hospital, who are coming, once they see your central government board, their confidence level increases even more. Even if it's only with the HDFC or ACSI, once they see the CGHS board, they are very confident that they have come to the right place.
Sir, I have a question. So if you take a TPA insurance to one of your centers and you have multiple centers across the city, do you need the empanelment for each one of them, or is just for the hospital in total?
I am not the best person to be answering that, because I do not have multiple centers like that. Dr. Mahipal can answer best that question, or somebody who has multiple centers. But from what I have learned and gained from what I have seen is that once your main center is empaneled, it makes it a lot easier to get your other centers also on board of these TPAs and the government organizations.
So what about
Pooja, if I can.
Yeah, Pallak, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, sorry to interrupt. If I could just put little information on that question of Pooja's. So I also don't have many centers, but I have worked at places who have multiple centers, and they have one particular center which is empaneled. So what they do is you operate anywhere, but whatever the name of center is with the TPA empanelment, you have to produce documents under that name. So all the billing and all the documents should go by that particular name or that particular stationery. That is what is important. So it really doesn't matter if you are operating at different centers and only one center is empaneled.
Okay. Okay. So, Dr. Sinha, I had one question. These were all the positives of getting empanelment and getting on the government services, but we've all heard about the non-payment of dues and the delays. For a youngster, who has to keep replenishing their inventory, you have operated on a certain amount of patients from ESI or from CGHS, and you're not getting the dues. The government keeps stalling you. Sometimes the backlog is almost, multiple months and years also in some cases. So how do you deal with that situation, sir? I mean, the government is known to be notorious. I know it is changing. The scenario is changing because of digitalization, but still, as a youngster, initially, you've done your surgery, you've put the implant, you've paid for it, but you haven't got reimbursed for it. Then how does that work?
So that's a very good question, Rohan, you have asked me, and it's very important for the youngsters, especially. I remember when I said I started the CGHS scheme in 2001, 2002, and I actually remember, because of the delay of patients, I had to go to the CGHS office after 6 months saying, boss, I have still not received my money. And those were the days, but now things have become much faster. Now it does not take 6 to 8 months in CGHS, but in those times it used to take a lot more time. Now, when we are talking of giving credit to the central government, we should also keep into account that we are taking credit from the lens manufacturers also. We don't have to pay them upfront on the same day. They give you a 60-day credit limit or a 90-day credit limit. So that window period is there, and that should be one incentive for the youngsters not to fear that they will be falling in an economic trap, because if they are doing something on credit, they are taking credit also. So that is one window which is there. Obviously, I totally agree with you, but that sometimes it may become difficult for the youngsters. But if you have that much volume, that you have a lot of credit backlog with the IOL guys, you will definitely have a lot of volume with the private patients also by then, that you will be able to clear your dues. And believe me, once the bulk money comes, because I have experienced this, the central government will not pay you, and then when they pay you such a huge amount that you are actually so happy you can do so many things. I remember my days when I was young. Suddenly, when so much money used to come, and then you can actually invest that lump sum money into some equipment or do something about it. But now over a period, over a period, as you all also will become senior, you will not even realize when the money is coming or whatever is happening. You just keep a track of it. But initially, yes, I totally agree with you. But at times it does become a burden by these delayed payments. But it should not be a deterrent. It should not demoralize you from getting empaneled with these government schemes, because eventually at the end of the day, they pay you, whether it's 6 months or 8 months, a little bit here, there can happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So let's move on to our next talk, and it is my pleasure to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Pallak Kusumgar. Dr. Pallak has done her MS from Kasturba Medical College and a fellowship in cataract and refractive services from Narayan Nethralaya, Bangalore. Dr. Pallak works in a multi-speciality hospital in Nagpur and handles the ophthalmology department. We would like to welcome her and to have her insight on the merits and demerits of various TPA schemes. Over to you, ma'am.
And both of your speakers are from KMC. I was in KMC Mangalore.
Thank you, Rohan, for that kind introduction. I think majority of my talk has been. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes. But your screen has not been shared, I think.
Just a minute, it's loading.
No, so we are getting multiple screens. Okay, now it is. Yes.
Is it there?
It's there.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Inviting me, Dr. Rohan and Dr. Pooja. Yes. Word in our discussions, and my topic is merits and demerits of TPA in your practice. So, medical emergency can be testing for entire family, and the only thing that a patient, from a patient point of view, is getting a good medical treatment without having any financial medical expenses, but only if the paperwork is done correctly, which seems like a major hassle at all the time. And this is where the role of all these TPAs and insurance schemes come into your rescue. So what exactly this third party administrator, provider, or the insurance company, and the policy holder or the hospitals? They are licensed from Insurance Regulatory Development Authority to process all these claims. Now, what is the key function of this TPA is to process all the claims and do the settlements. They are supposed to issue all the risk facilities at the empaneled hospitals, and at the time of admission or any surgery when the patient does, they have to produce this card, on basis of which the hospital either gives cashless service or reimbursement to these patients. So insurance sector is the fastest growing segment in the non-life insurance sector currently, the health insurance, and around 514 million people across India are covered under health insurance schemes. This itself shows how important it is that we get empaneled and we have these insurances with our hospital. Around 50% of middle and higher class population nowadays do have health insurances, and once they start paying premium, majority of the patient want to avail these services, whether it be a small treatment or a bigger treatment. So what are the benefits of empanelment to our hospital? Is these empanelments, as sir already told, it boosts patients' trust into your hospitals or clinics. So these insured patients are automatically coming to these hospitals without having any marketing strategies or without hospital needing to put any manpower, time or money into this, which is very important for a new setup and a new hospital, which increases the footfall of these patients to our hospitals. After that, are giving our best services and developing good relationship with these patients, bring in more patients, because this one patient becomes word of mouth publicity for the hospital, and then of course turns many other patients also. Also, once satisfied with the hospital services, these patients are potential to be converted for other services as well, and whether then it being covered by insurance or not, these patients might be ready to pay the cash upfront also. Also, the empanelments, which brings in the good amount of patients, helps you grow your practice. You can train your nurses, staff and technicians through these good number of patients. Now, when we speak of bigger hospitals, as I also work with multi-speciality hospital, these empanelments help to maintain the expenses of per bed ratio, because the numbers increases, the services are not underutilized, and also the staff is not underutilized. So with the same amount of staff which you would anyways need even for 10 patients, what can be utilized if you have empanelment and suppose 50 patients are stepping in your hospitals. So this overall reduces the operational cost of the hospital. Now what actually these TPA companies are supposed to give us is greater efficiency and quality. Then they should improve the standardization of the bills across the country. They are supposed to increase the knowledge of healthcare services to the patients as well, and help in greater penetration of health insurances among the patients. But as said, what they are actually supposed to do and what actually the ground realities are hugely apart. So what are the challenges of these empanelment are? Majority of the patients coming with insurances do have incorrect or incomplete information about their insurance policy. They feel once they are paying the premium, they have the right to avail all the services available in the hospital. Also, the IRDA has not put any strict regulation, or there is no mechanism in place to effectively appraise these performances of TPAs. Majority of the TPAs are appraised on basis of the financial turnover which they have. But when we speak about the hospitals or the patients, their satisfaction is barely looked at. Also, when we bring empanelment to our hospital, it is very important to recruit manpower who are trained in these things and who have proper knowledge of all the insurances. As all the insurance policies are not similar, every patient walks in with a different type of policy with different type of cover. There are many co-payments associated with all these insurances. So it is very important, because when we counsel the patient at the beginning, the correct knowledge of patient and patient being aware that what he is going into helps the hospital also to recover their payments correctly. There is quite a lot of documentation, and more than documentation, it is important that it is done in the right way, so that the insurance claims which are there are not rejected and majority of them are claimed. inaccurate billing again can lead into deductions, and a continuous follow-up is needed with all these insurance companies so that the payment comes to the hospital, which again becomes headache of hospital. So there are of course delaying payments, many a times partial payments and non-payments, because once the surgery is done and the patient has gone, it is very difficult to recover any kind of money from these patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pallak. Very detailed. All those points that were covered are extremely practical. So I open this to the panel now. These irregularities that are there, of course, again, due to digitalization, these irregularities amongst the patient, especially packages, the different types of packages that these patients come with. I think this is a very hot topic that is, discussed in a lot of groups amongst ophthalmologists, and I'm sure amongst all other specialities also. How do you deal with patients who want better, better lens implantations, a better package, but their insurance company offers them a limited package? Your experience, Dr. Mehta and Dr. Sinha, sir.
Okay, Manchu will go ahead first.
Okay. Yeah. It's a catch-22, Rohan. It's a very difficult situation because the insurance has told them everything is free on the house, and behind their back, if you talk to the TPA guys, they will tell you that itna mehenga lens dalne ka kya zarurat hai. Have a lot of problems 10 years ago. Patients thought everything is free on the house now. They want the Rolls Royce, and the insurance company is not ready to pay for a rickshaw also. And this is the big problem. What you said is a very, very true thing. But now, fortunately, every insurance has started, after a lot of fight, these insurance companies have started mentioning in the insurance document that they are eligible for 24,000, 30,000, 40,000. So once the patient understands that these are my fees, if you want anything more than that, you will have to shell it out from your pocket. So like in the US, it is called co-payments. So that is the only way out to make them understand. This also goes in true for CGHS patients and other places also, because they want to go in for a better lens, they want to go have a better machine. CGHS rates were fixed when your old stores machine also was not there for phaco. And now you have the Centurion costing you maybe 80 lakhs, and you have your disposables. That time all the CGHS rates and all those rates were fixed up. So if you are doing your phaco, there is no way in which you'll be able to justify. So ultimately, either you pay from your pocket, that's what it comes out to be, or you do it because you want to have your volume game going. Or explain to an intelligent patient, they also have seen the world, they also know that it will cost them more. So they have to be made to understand its copay. That a toric lens or a multifocal was never designed when the CGHS rates were made. Rohan, does that answer your question for the time being? Dr. Sinha, I would like to in on that.
Absolutely. I think I'd just add to that, like what sir is saying is absolutely correct. When I see these TPA patients and they have actually done their homework, they have actually known what is available in your hospital and what is the cost of the premium lenses. When you tell them that you need cataract surgery, they will straight away jump to the what lens you would like to recommend. And when you tell them that you are from an insurance company and a certain amount only will be given to them. So now these days I spend a little time talking to them, explaining to them, and like Dr. Himanshu was saying, whatever is covered by the insurance is covered by the insurance, and then the balance you will have to pay. One issue which comes is if you give a receipt for the payment that has been made by the patient, that money the patient claims from the insurance company, and that gets deducted from the bill that you submit to the patient, to the insurance company. The insurance company says you have already received that money. We have already received that bill. So that, as the first line which he said, it becomes a catch-22 situation, is that it becomes very difficult to give a receipt to the patient, because then it eventually turns around and gets deducted from your bill only. And the patient also gets furious that if I am paying extra, I should get a bill. So then the doctor is stuck in between of he wanting to give your patient a premium IOL, patient is ready to pay, but because the insurance company has a lot of norms, the whole situation gets entangled within its own web.
Yeah, very, very, very important fine print that you have told. I was not aware of this. That the patient. So the insurance company does go and
yes, as soon as you give the receipt, the patient will next day go and claim it, and your bill also takes 2 to 3 weeks to get processed. And in the meanwhile, the patient has submitted his receipt. When he has submitted his receipt, the patient, the insurance company deducts it from your payment. As it is, you are going to get 25,000. In that also, 15,000 gets deducted. So you have to be very careful of how you are dealing with this situation.
So then what do you do in such situation? How are we supposed to deal with such patients?
Either if you think that
I can't tell on the record over You said the meeting is being recorded, but generally we have to tell the patient that you have to pay this, and unless otherwise absolutely not required, it will be a little difficult to give you receipts for the same.
So Rohan, the other issue is quite often they also have private insurance. Now, so they want to claim at 2 places. They want to make money on their own surgery.
So they yes.
So you have to be very clear that I'll write down that this is a duplicate. So write down duplicate. So no other company will give it. Otherwise, you'll end up paying tax. And not just that. Once this second bill goes to the original company, they also blacklist you. They think that you are taking underhand money.
Yes, you have to be very careful of what is happening.
So some of them also, sir, what happens is that I have experienced this personally, that they have a higher bracket, but they say, why do we need that lens? We don't want to use that lens. You give us the full bill, but you put this lens, and then they'll go and claim that money. I have experienced it. They go and they take the difference from the insurance company.
Patients,
same even requests. They want a raised bill for what has not been done also.
Has anybody asked for rickshaw or transport charges? Patient asks for that money also.
Ayushman Bharat is entitled to that also. Ayushman Bharat patient is entitled to that also. Sir, how do you deal in Bombay? I hear that there is no cashless system in Bombay. So you take cash from all the patients and give them the receipt?
Yes, absolutely. So I tell them very clearly that fortunately this so-called unity of ours is there for quite some time. Though of course few of them are taking full advantage, because if 90% are not doing, 10% get all the work of insurance. So they are taking it. There are a few rotten eggs. We can't help that. But yes, I tell them very clearly that I'm not your insurance agent. I have not given you any insurance. I don't get any money from insurance. I have nothing to say in it. Whatever you are eligible, I can't read insurance documents. Please read your insurance document. I don't know how good is your insurance and how much your agent has fooled you. So please ask your agent. Every lazy patient also is going to ask for a bill. No, please write something. Please write that you've done cataract. Nothing doing. I will not. So it is a fight, always a fight, that you have to tell them that please take it from the authorities. I'm giving you a full bill. There is no hanky-panky stuff. Every penny that you give me is accounted for. And even if there is a toric multifocal with a lens X, there are some companies which pay the full amount to the patients. So that is also allowed. So tell them, fortunately, we can tell them here that the Bombay Ophthalmic Association has banned TPA in the larger interest of the general public. And when they hear that commonly, then they kind of digest that. But it's a losing, it's a catch-22 for you every single day with all these patients. They are all tasted blood, and what happens is, then all these corporate hospitals who do TPA, they take away all your work very clearly. And then our poor doctors are so ignorant. So they say that kya karega hum log? Hospitals are forcing to do. They are enjoying the fruits of the whole thing. But they'll blame the hospital, that the hospitals are forcing us to do. So this is the situation in Bombay.
Yeah, because Bombay is the only city in the whole country which has a system like that.
But it is beneficial to you only in the long run, because even now think about it, all those patients who could afford to pay, not that they could not afford to pay, they could afford to pay, were also not paying you. because they said कि अच्छा free होता है ना तो क्यों डालेंगे पैसा? The richest of the rich also, the richest from years together, from 25 years I know, because of their tax deduction, have had a Mediclaim policy. They don't need money. Actually, the unfortunate part of life is the poor who need the policy actually are insured. And the rich who don't need, they're doing it only for tax benefit, are the ones who take advantage.
Yeah. The video is going viral, sir, about that man in Punjab going in Mercedes and collecting free ration. It's gone viral yesterday itself. And I think we have seen that in Ayushman Bharat also. People who are wealthy,
underprivileged card.
yeah, people who are wealthy, they get themselves put onto the register, onto the rolls of Ayushman Bharat, and then they want to take full advantage of it.
A big bunch of people, the sucker always is the doctor in the whole bargain. Nowhere is the only money they are ready to pay is the lens. Doctor is always free on the house.
Correct.
But doc, I wanted to ask her, where is Dr. Pallak? Pallak, I wanted to ask you this question. You said you have your NABH, then you hospital. The other hospital, NABH, you are.
So your voice is breaking. Can you repeat the question?
Okay. Pallak, my question to you was, you said you have a certificate for a particular hospital for your NABH. You can operate and give the billing from the main place. Now, the purpose of NABH is to see that all the standards are met. Now, the other place may not have any other thing to. So, what happens? Is that legally allowed? Off record. Is it legally allowed that he may?
So this is what I was talking was empanelment without NABH. So there are empanelment without NABH also, just the rate negotiation differs. If you have NABH, you are in a position to ask for better rates for your surgery. But even if you don't have, here we do have empanelment without NABH. So it is that situation. The small clinics who have 2-3 small clinics in different places, in a place where I go and operate, they have empanelment somewhere else. But even if I go and operate in other center, they do give me documents. I don't know how legal that is, and but they do get the reimbursement or cashless covered.
So just watch it, Pallak. That's all I'm saying. Sometime what I'm hinting to you is that be very careful. Finally, it is we are who are always going to be on fire. It looks nice in the beginning. Just that. Don't. Anything, Rohan? It's a
Yes.
very dicey thing. KIOS should take it up. The circular is that, what I got today earlier, that Delhi, every hospital is eligible for insurance. You don't need to cartel to do that.
Society did, they did a lawyer, and the Delhi High Court has ordered that you do not require an NABH to be empaneled. So that holds true, and that can actually be used, that court order now all over India. That has happened. That the Delhi Ophthalmic Society has worked.
So, if I was to sum up a few things in this, very interesting. Dr. Sinha said so many beautiful. Believe me, it's a lecture which you have to go through 4 or 5 times. He has said everything from his heart. As a nice colleague to teach everybody. Not everybody will talk like this and give openly all the addresses also. Even I don't have addresses. I'll have to take those addresses from him. It is so very important that you will not get those addresses from him. But it comes to a big circle. Have to start somewhere. To get BMC permission is a big pain. To get a clinic where it is commercial use, huge pain. I took 10. To get fire certification, huge time. To get BMC certification, because each in a spiral, one needs the other one. Each one of them is dependent on. So if you don't have fire, BMC will not give you. If you don't have commercial permission, BMC will not give you. So difficult. So I can understand how much of trouble each one, but do it. It's all in the fun. Rohan, please go ahead. You have a lot to share that I would like to hear.
Thank you so much, sir, for all that experience and wisdom and sharing it with us. Now, next we have our very own co-founder of Youthful RSI here with us, Dr. Rohan Mehra. He's an anterior segment surgeon, and after doing his fellowship in cataract and refractive services from Narayan Nethralaya, Bangalore, he's now a consultant at the Vision Eye Center, Mumbai. Dr. Mehra is also the director of CKI Institute, Saranpur. Having worked in multiple different setups for ophthalmology, he is here with us today to give a summary of the existing schemes available for ophthalmology. We welcome you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anshika. So is my screen visible? Should I go ahead?
Yes, it's visible.
All right. So as Dr. Sinha, in the beginning, he put up this slide showing the different TPA schemes that were there. So I also just picked up this from the internet so that we get a generalized idea about there is so much in the market that is available to us. It is actually a cafeteria. If you come to think of it, if you're all right to just work hard a little bit in the beginning to get empaneled upon all these schemes and to just get the Rohini certification done. After that, approaching these companies, they definitely want, because see, they are all also in competition with each other, right? So they all want more and more hospitals to get added to them. So it's not a one-way traffic. If you will benefit, they will also benefit by adding the number of hospitals. And then, of course, claim settlement ratio, all those things, all the millennial patients that we have these days. Also, we need to remember one thing. See, we are operating mostly when it comes to cataract, we are operating people who are old, who are about 50, 60, 70 years old. But most of them are benefiting now with insurance policies of their children. So many times you see that, somebody who's working somewhere, their parents are attached to them through their insurance policy. So you have to be appealing to the millennials also. It is the children who take the decision for the parents where they want to go and they want to get their surgery done more often than not, rather than the parents taking the decision on their own. So all of them, they will search the internet for claim settlements. What is the claim ratio settlement? Where is the biggest advantage that they are going to get? Believe me, 90% of them, and all my seniors will agree, are not interested in the vision. They are interested where I will get the maximum benefit monetarily. कहाँ से मेरे को maximum benefit मिलेगा, सबसे अच्छा lens डल जाएगा. Whether I read or I don't read, I want a multifocal lens. My father is educated. He does not know how to read. If I somehow can manage to get a multifocal lens in his eye, I'll put that. Irrespective of the fact he likes going for a evening walk and he finds it difficult in the street lights, does not matter. Again, so then when I was going through the internet, I found this is an even bigger list. This entire thing, there are above, say, about 70 to 78 insurance companies right now with over 10,000 people who are registered with them. So that makes a huge chunk. So why empanelment? As mentioned earlier, I'm just summarizing: cashless, single line billing, high affordability for the patient, and high patient inflow. Now, this high patient inflow is not just a direct high patient inflow. People come with relatives, and we have to think of it as a sort of a society amongst the patients also. If one person is getting operated at your center through an empanelment and your surgery has gone off well and that patient is happy, then that patient will sort of have an influence on people who do not have empanelment, who do not have insurance. They will also walk into your center. So all of this is interlinked. I'll share an anecdote. I did operate on a patient who was a bank employee, and that person, I was not on the panel for that bank, but they would get reimbursement after I did give them the bills. So that person got the surgery done for his wife, was very happy, and immediately he put it on his WhatsApp group of the bank that, you go to that center and that center charges you that much. And there was one complaint also on that center for some reason, for rude staff behavior. I went to this center hassle-free. My patient is very happy and the staff was courteous. I've got all my claims. Why don't all of you also try this? And believe you me, within the next 6 months, from that very bank, from that very branch of that very bank, I operated 5 patients. So this is all indirectly coming to you because you were able to get a system in place. Even if you are not empaneled, you were able to give the proper bills that they were looking for. Consumables have to be billed separately. Your lens has to be billed separately, OT charges separately, surgeon fees separately. So the other thing I got to know from that very patient is that, sir, wo consumables to वैसे हटा देते हैं. They will not give me money for the consumables. So if you can increase your surgeon fees, they will have to give me money for the surgeon fees, and it's beneficial for you. So you decrease your consumable bill, you increase your surgeon fee bill. So I think as we were discussing in a previous chapter of Youthful IRSI as well, the next future way has to be increasing your surgeon fee, decreasing the fee for your consumables, decreasing your OT charges fee, and increasing your service fee. It is your skill, your talent that you are asking money for, and for that the insurance company can never say no. So this, as Dr. Sinha claimed, I think this is one for the future. CGHS, ECHS, ESI were yesteryears. Of course, they are going to continue. But this Pradhan Mantri, Ayushman Bharat Yojana is going to cover. In fact, I would also like to share that an piece of information that I gathered very recently. This Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Yojana is not going to be remaining only for the poor. They are coming with a scheme 1 and a scheme 2 for this, wherein just like general insurance, you will have to pay a very little amount, and anybody who pays that amount will also get covered into this scheme. So that is their phase 2, phase 3 of this scheme. Phase 1 was for the poor, where you don't have to pay anything. You're below poverty line. You have that red ration card, and you can get empaneled onto this. The scheme 2, scheme 3 that is coming into this is going to be for the middle class, for the upper middle class, which constitutes a high percentage of India. Talking about the government, what the government is doing. So this was of course earlier. This is from earlier that they wanted to make India cataract free by 2022. 786 lakh cataract patients to be covered in the next 5 years. Budget of 756 crores was allocated towards the program. And the scheme was to render rupees 2,000 as financial assistance for each operation, including the cost of lenses. So this was apart from the Ayushman services, where you do get, I would say, still a decent amount, rather than your national control blindness, your district control blindness. All those are also there, which a lot of charitable services, they eye because of the high numbers that they do. They do get an amount of money, which is of course higher than the amount that is getting into the system, but you need extremely high volumes, and it has to be a very efficient system. That can only be done when you are inside a corporate or a charitable institute. So now, cracking rural India, I feel that is one thing that is still far-fetched for insurance companies. The Ayushman Bharat scheme, as I said, this is the one that is really cracking rural India very well. Of course, there are fraudulent cards. One must be very, very careful. People are getting cards made from Jan Seva Kendra for giving 200 rupees. They get a card made. You have to have a trained person in your facility who knows, who is an Ayushman Mitra. You have to send them to the government facility to train them so that they can detect these fraudulent cards for you. Otherwise, you can do the surgery. Patient will go home happy, and only lip service is what you're going to get. You are not going to get any money from the government, because the government will say this is a fraudulent card. There are a lot of things that, the parameters that are there in that card, it has to be linked to your ration card. The name has to be exactly the same. A lot of times we get patients in our practice who say, who are ill-informed and who would say that, हमें कहते हैं कि 5 लाख रुपया इसमें मिलता है, तो अब इस 5 लाख में से कितना कट जाएगा? आप 5 लाख का ही लेंस डाल दीजिए. You get these people, you have to educate them, and it becomes extremely difficult in your practice to educate them. So I would suggest invest in a person, pay that person nicely, because he's going to take a lot of headache out of you. He's going to take a lot of headache away from you. That person should be trained from the relevant government organizations and in TPA to answer all the queries of your patient. exploration versus exploitation, very thin line, very easy to explore, and we must explore, as everybody said in their talks before, we must get empaneled, but be very careful, you might get exploited out of this also. How you can get exploited, as I listed out, multiple ways, as I asked a question to Dr. Sinha as well. You might get very delayed payments, you might get fraudulent patients. Those patients might create a ruckus in your OPD, saying it's not my fault, this is my card, end of story, you have to treat me. You have to become you have to become very you have to have a nimble way in how you deal with all this, because वो अपनी सर्जरी तो वहां नहीं कराएगा, पर it is very possible कि जो 3 लोग आपके वहां पे ओपीडी में बैठे थे, who are ready to get surgery done by you, will also be driven away by this exploitation. I would want to refrain to share much details about it. These exploitation happen from your own competitive colleagues also, so you have to be extremely careful on that front also. They will send patients to your practice who will do all this and create a ruckus in the OPD, taking fraudulent cards. So you have to be very tactful. So don't get exploited. Make sure all your documents are in place. Make sure you have a very highly trained staff to save yourself from this. Money recovery, sir, answered the question. This I had, the last slide, because this can become a problem. Although as far as Ayushman Bharat is concerned, I think the central government has been very, very kind. Within 2 months, your recovery of the money is there. As far as the CGHS and ESI are concerned, that is still lacking a little bit. You need to have your contacts, you need to have your good sort of relationships with those CGHS and ESI managers who are there dispensing the money. तो आपको अपना पैसा लेने के लिए भी आपको कुछ गरम करना ही पड़ता है. So, to get your own money out, you have to deal with them. And it has become much better because of digitalization. And I'm sure, because this is for the youngsters, it will become much better in the future also. Transparency is increasing and it will increase. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for your brief summarization of everything that is available and how we should take care of ourselves and prevent getting exploited. We would have Dr. Sinha for giving his closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pooja. I'm so impressed by the last talk that Dr. Rohan gave right from his heart. He has put everything on the table as it happens in the OPD. Even Dr. Pallak's talk was very, very nice, and she clearly outlined the merits and demerits of the TPA. It's something in a nutshell, if we have to say, it's a necessary evil which every youngster will have to go through, which every youngster will have to take. Because cashless is the way to go, empanelment is the way to go. There are a lot of lacunae, there are a lot of shortcomings. India is still a growing country in this field, and we have to still close a lot of loopholes. But to be in the race, you have to be there right from the beginning and not join later. You may miss the bus. So whatever problems are there, whatever sir said that there are difficulties in getting the licenses, so on and so forth, which is so true. But still, I would like to motivate, encourage, and request all the youngsters to still go ahead with the empanelment process, with the government empanelment, with the private empanelment. And it may be a good idea to rewind this and see this presentation and again to get a good understanding of how important, how beneficial it is to get empanelment done. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Rohan, Dr. Pooja, Dr. Pallak, Dr. Anshika, Himanshu sir for the beautiful evening that we had and the beautiful discussion which will benefit so many youngsters throughout the country in future times to come. Thank you so much.
Dr. Gaurav has just joined, so you can give us your tips and tricks on.
I'm so sorry. I'm so late. Satyajit, so good to see you after 1 week of break. I was in Patna, so had an amazing time. Satyajit is such an amazing organizer. Hi, Dr. Himanshu, and hi everybody else. I'm so sorry that I couldn't join in time. I got free a little late, so I've missed the amazing webinar, but I'm sure I can go back and look at the recording and listen to all the stuff that you guys discussed. And so anyway, I'm here for, you guys for 2 minutes as while you're winding up. And Dr. Pallak, I can see. Hello, how are you doing? And good to see you, Pooja and Anshika. So I hope you had a great webinar though.
Yes, but we would want your 2 cents also on empanelment and TPA, and especially the government schemes that are coming in. So I was just mentioning that I'm pretty certain that especially in the tier 2, tier 3, and rural India, Ayushman Bharat is going to take over. The private companies are going to find it very difficult to compete with Ayushman Bharat, actually, frankly speaking, in these cities, because their organization has become better. It's become much better. The only thing that we were scared of from the government was that the organization skill is not good. But with this scheme coming in at a pan-India level, it's going to be much better. So what would you suggest? How does one sort of take this into the future?
I had to let my dog go out. I'm so sorry. He was creating a ruckus. So I've just come into another area. So, so what I think is that things are changing so much. At least I'm in a small town, and things are changing so much that till about 5 years back, only 10% of our work was, like through empanelments and TPAs and cashless and stuff. And things have changed so much that now probably 50, 60, or even 70% of our work is coming through one or the other schemes, and people don't want to. So the whole concept of healthcare in India is changing. And what I can see is that now most people think that, they are not supposed to pay for their own healthcare. It's the government or somebody else's responsibility to pay for their healthcare. It's not their own, prerogative to pay for it. So everybody is looking for one scheme or the other. They want to, take help of insurance, or a card, or a CGHS card, or an ECHS, or Ayushman, or Gold card, or a state health card. They don't want to pay for healthcare themselves. They'll go to the restaurant and pay for their food. They'll pay for their travel. They'll pay for everything else. But when it comes to health, the concept is that this is not my headache. And, so they're compromising as well. They're not willing to kind of go for, I'm not talking about, about 10 or 20% of the patients who are very health conscious and they want the best surgery. They want to go for a laser assisted surgery, or they want to go for paying surgery. They understand the importance of healthcare. But I would say the majority, maybe even 70 to 80% of patients now, they're not health conscious. They don't want to spend on themselves. So that's not a great sign. I think the whole concept of healthcare in India is changing, and it's very troublesome because people kind of belittle healthcare and they don't see value in investing in their health, which I think as doctors, we have to start kind of conveying to them how important it is to spend money on your health rather than spending on so many things, which they would do, buying snazzy phones for ₹1 lakh. But, they'll happily go and buy glasses, progressive glasses with a Gucci frame or a, Cartier frame, $50,000 or more. And when it comes to their cataract surgery, they will not want to pay you 25, 30,000, which includes the whole surgery and the lens put in, and, somehow, somewhere we have to kind of get across to them. So these schemes are taking over and they're paying us much below our cost price, as you said, Ayushman. And the other problem is that many of the empanelments are now linking themselves to these health schemes. It started with CGHS rates. So now BSNL, UPCL, which means our Uttarakhand Power Corporation, like that. In every state, there will be other organizations. They all link themselves to these rates and say that, okay, now we'll be paying you these rates. If you are happy with it, go ahead. And off late, I'm seeing the same thing happening about Ayushman rates, which are half of the CGHS rates or even less. So many organizations now want you to stick to Ayushman rates. So I don't know where we are headed, but that is the reality, and we have to find ways of going around it and still remain profitable and break even in our services.
I have a question, Gaurav, to you.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies who we signed MOUs with, which were done a few years back, and we had written X amount of rate for a cataract surgery at that time. And at this point of time, now I'll give you an example. We had made a MOU with Alcon IQ and Clarion and all those things. But recently I was putting for an insurance patient a VVT toric. And I said it will be X plus X and whatever amount it was there. And we sent that for the approval to the TPA company. And they said the last time you had an agreement with me, it was only around 45,000, and now you have spent it 3 times the cost. This is not going to get approved. Eventually, at the end of the day, they paid only that was there in the MOU first, and the rest the patient had to pay. So how do you deal with these old MOUs which are there? Because they always, if you call and tell them, they'll tell you you have already signed on an MOU which was there earlier.
Yes. No, I agree, Satyajit. What you're saying is absolutely right. We are going through the same thing. Some of these big insurers and TPAs, like maybe MediAssist. What I'm noticing is that we started working with them like Raksha TPA and Vipul and all these 15 years back. That time their rates were like 25,000-30,000 for a cataract surgery, or even some of them were like 35,000. And today I noticed that some of them are wanting to pay less than what they were paying us 15 years back. And there is no, and they will tell you that they want you to do MICS and they want you to put a hydrophobic acrylic aspheric lens and all that. That comes with everything. And they'll tell you that, take it or leave it. We kind of decided that we wanted to, not accept the lower rates, but they happily let us go. And then it was a loss to us because all the other hospitals in the city were doing it. So I don't know what is the answer to this, but definitely we have to keep trying. And I think what helps is that if you're a TPA person, so the big hospitals, for example, a Max or a big corporate hospital, they have good networking with all the TPAs because they're working with them all the time. And I noticed that they get paid much better than our small setups, which are, even if small isolated eye care setups are getting paid much less. So for a cataract surgery with a, they will have much less equipment, they'll have much less expertise, and they will be doing very basic cataract surgery, but they will get approvals of 75,000-80,000 rupees. And we will be struggling with the approval of 30,000-40,000 rupees and not going to get better than that. So I don't have an answer, Satyajit, but I'm equally troubled by what you're telling. And we face it every day. But then I think what we have to probably do is we have to educate the patients that when they buy insurance, they should ask, I think we have to start doing maybe some educational campaigns through AIOS or IRSI to educate. We can, AIOS has a lot of money in the bank accounts. We can put out full page ads, quarter page ads on the national dailies, telling them that when you buy insurance, please ensure that, you're looking at all these, riders and that how much you're going to get for a particular surgery, giving them examples that, your insurer may pay you only 25,000 for a cataract surgery, which may only get you a very, very basic surgery, whereas a good cataract surgery may cost you 1 lakh or above. So patients, when they buy insurance, that time they can negotiate with their insurers. So I think we have to start taking that responsibility at our end of educating our patients in several ways. And that might help us because then, the pressure will be on the insurance companies.
That's a good idea.
But do you get, do you guys get like multifocal IOLs and femto-assisted surgery? Do you get approvals for that? Toric IOLs we've started getting off late. Often we get approvals for toric IOLs if we justify with the astigmatism and all. But we still rarely get it for, a Synergy or a Panoptix or one of these lenses, and especially for a femto-assisted. Dr. Himanshu must be the only one who's getting approvals. He just said, of course, that he doesn't do cashless. So, but I think that's the other answer. If we tell patients, what I typically do is I tell them that if you go through cashless, you are waiving away your rights to a quality surgery. You are going to get settled for something which is low cost because the companies always put a cashless bar that which they don't want to pay for more than 25,000-30,000. But if you go and claim yourself, you may easily get 50,000 or more. And some patients understand. And others who are very cost conscious, they just say, whatever happens in cashless, please do it. And then I just pass it on to my juniors to let them do it.
Thank you so much, everyone. We are so glad to get such further wisdom from our pioneers, from our esteemed speakers. For those who are stuck at crossroads and those who are confused on how to run your practice smoothly, I'm sure this webinar has helped them tremendously. And for those who missed out, it's thankfully saved on our channel for future references and re-references. Also, make sure you do take the screenshots of all the slides that Dr. Sinha nicely panned out for our help. Request Dr. Himanshu to give his closing comments. Dr. Gaurav, you can go in with the closing comments.
I'm sorry?
You can go in with the closing comments. I think Dr.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you. And before we close, actually, I had a very nice, moment today afternoon. I was giving a lecture on eye donation fortnight at the local Dehradun Medical College, and somebody got up and asked, and there was this last slide on the presentation which said that all the celebrities have kind of pledged their eyes, and amongst them was Amitabh Bachchan and a few others, and then this associate professor at the medical college gets up and says that, can you recognize this? There was this Amitabh Bachchan's big photograph with the sunglasses on, and he says that, do you know who this celebrity is? So everybody obviously guessed it right, that this is Big B and all that. And then he asked that, do you know why he's wearing sunglasses? So then some people said that, oh, he's just got a cataract surgery. And then I was called onto stage to, say that your friend Dr. Himanshu has operated on him, and how was the experience and all that and stuff. And apparently the surgery was very challenging with this and that and hard cataract, and went on for 2 hours. So I had to clarify that out of those 2 hours, 1 hour and 45 minutes was spent on convincing him that you need a lens implant, which will, probably, and the surgery itself was challenging, but lasted only 10-15 minutes. So Dr. Himanshu, you have a long life, and I think with that comment, I think thank you so much for organizing this, Rohan. It was a very meaningful session. It's very important. This session would be very useful to all of them, all of us, in fact, who are, in one way or the other in private practice, in hospitals, or solo practices. And I wish I could have gone through the whole of it, but I'm sure it was amazing. And all the speakers were obviously best chosen, and they were all, very kind of adept at what they do. So Satyajit, I will go back and listen to your talk as well. And thank you so much for organizing. And I think closing remarks should be from Dr. Himanshu. He always has the best for the last.
Sweet of you, Gaurav. Thanks for saying that. Appreciate. I think, friends, the biggest thing which is lacking is unity amongst doctors. We have demeaned ourselves so badly that if I don't do it, my neighbor will be doing it. So everybody is doing it because they are scared somebody else will do it. Everywhere where I go, Gujarat or wherever, everybody hates cashless. They have not progressed. They are not putting multifocal. In Gujarat, 95% are not putting multifocals because of only one reason, that they don't want the headache with the patient, because they don't want the multifocals are not allowed by the cashless company. So every which way science is suffering, we are suffering. From 10 years, as Dr. Satyajit Sinha said, your revenues have remained the same. Your cost has inflation. Everybody accounts for inflation. Even the rupee depreciate by 5%. So 100 rupee or a 1 lakh rupee after 10 years does not remain as 1 lakh in your pocket. It becomes 30,000-40,000 rupees. But yet, surgeons have deteriorated so badly that what we used to charge 25,000 rupees 10 years ago is what we are still allowed to pass. We have never had the courage to tell them that every year there should be an inflationary increase of 8 to 10%. So unless all doctors get together, like Gaurav said very nicely, AIOS can give these ads. Is it our responsibility to tell the patient what is their health and how important are their eyes? But somewhere along the line, we have to bridge the gap. Every which way we'll have to bridge the gap ultimately to see that the cashless thing, it should be a friend, not a demon, which is against science. If we don't do newer techniques, if we don't use newer equipments, all these things which were there, as I said in the beginning of the talk, that all those equipments which were there 20 years ago when all these cashless came up or a CGHS rate came up, today what kind of cost we are having, how expensive every machine has got, your survival, your AMC, your CMC, your insurance cost. We have a double whammy here. Gaurav, with respect to equipment insurance, today you realize most companies don't want to insure you against equipments.
Absolutely.
Correct, which means we are in a fix right now. The insurance companies don't want to insure your equipment. The NABH will not give you an NABH unless all your equipments have AMC. So unless they are functioning, they will not. So you are paying for your CMCs. You are paying for, they want you to pay through your nose for everything. The CMC cost is anywhere between 5 to 10% of the cost of the equipment. And after that, still we are not increasing our rates, which means we are cutting on our surgeons' rate only at every given point of time. And as Gaurav said, it's getting worse. If Ayushman and everybody, they are going to tell you tomorrow that why CGHS? If you have said yes to Ayushman, CGHS is also has the rights to say tomorrow. One bureaucrat comes up in CGHS and says Dr. Gaurav or Dr. Satyajit Sinha can afford Ayushman. Why is he being given CGHS rates?
In fact, that's the plan. They are planning to merge CGHS, ECHS, and Ayushman into one big thing. And all the rates will probably, rather than get better than what we are getting right now, they're going to get worse, and we will be, forced to work at Ayushman rates. And it's a huge, issue. More on top of that, Ayushman patients are not allowed to upgrade their surgery. So, if you try to upgrade them, you will get a phone call of reprimand from the Ayushman. They call up patients to find out, did you pay a single rupee? Did they drop you home in the ambulance or not? Did they give you all the medicines? So, it's like you just can't win. It's whichever way you look at it. So the best way is to probably, and on the other hand, the government tries to arm twist you, that especially in smaller states like ours, that if you do not take Ayushman, you'll get a friendly call from the powers that be, that if you your doctor, you better take Ayushman. If you don't, we'll be obliged to kind of take away some of your privileges. Your clinical establishment act will become difficult. So you get subtle messages that you better fall in line. So that's how life is, and I don't know how we have to fight it, but we have to, and I think we can only do it if we are all together and kind of work together with each other. And as Dr. Himanshu said,
so challenging times ahead, and all challenging times always are very interesting in life, because that's where we'll get solutions. We'll have to face those tough times. It's not going to be easy. Cost escalation, income going down. Now that's the fact of life. And how do we fight that together?
We should not sign off by scaring the youngsters.
I think what's happened is that we are all working much harder than we were doing 10 years back, because the reimbursements are going down. The cost of buying equipment, your microscopes are 10 times more expensive. Phaco machines are 10 times more expensive. Everything, your consumables, assuring quality becomes more expensive. And so what happens is you burn yourself out. You start working 12 hours a day to break even. So that's not a great thing for your health and quality of life anyway. So we have to find a solution. And I think where to start is, let's not start undercutting each other. Satyajit, I think the message from here should be that as doctors, even if we are beginners in the profession, you will not see lawyers and you will not see other professionals trying to undercut their other colleagues. They will always have their self-respect in place, and they will not, try to say that, okay, I'm a newcomer, so I'm going to give service at 100 rupees. I'll do cataract at 5,000 rupees. Doesn't matter. At least I'll be working and, gaining experience. So somewhere I think that has to stop.
I guess Pooja, Rohan, enough dose from the other side.
It's actually less than 5,000. So
exciting times.
So we see you next month.
People are ready to do it for 2,000 also, sir. And they advertise it. I mean, they have the audacity to advertise it on hoardings
and newspapers.
They are possibly Ambani's, Adani's, and Redback's children.
No, but then when you tell them of upgrading your instrumentation to buy your optical biometer, they say, who has the money to buy all of that? That is their remarks that they give you. They're like, oh, you're wasting your money buying equipment and all. It's not needed. It's for 50, 60 lakhs on dega. That is what their response is. Like, if you have a discussion with them.
Bottom line is unity amongst us. Science has to progress, and always science is the winner. And we have always found solutions in trying times. That's why medical profession has taught us so well. I guess all in all, greener pasture. We said a few things so that the debate starts very lively and becomes more interesting. Not to really dishearten people.
Great. We will see you all next month back for season 2, chapter 3, the building blocks of ophthalmology, the infrastructure that is required. We would like to thank our Microvision team, for Mr. Ashok and Mr. Navneet, for always being there and running this event so smoothly. Thank you all, and see you all next month.
Great job, guys. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you, Satyajit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you, Satyajit. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Gaurav. Bye, Gaurav.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Anshika.
Thank you.
Bye, Dr. Pallak.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, madam.